Mediterranean climate on steroids. The dry farm wines here are 35 feet deep, seeking the minutiae in the calcareous rock. The close-knit group that we have here, together we're able to maintain this palette of fruit that we are desirous of. It's so superlative, there is very little to do nursing it to fruition. Expect very unique and intimate discussion to really appreciate this wine. An appellation to be contended in California and worldwide.
Okay, there we go.
It was a bit disjointed, but a good introduction nonetheless.
Right. So
Yes.
what I want to do is thank you everybody for joining us tonight, and I do want to introduce our special guest tonight, Ishka Stanislaus, and we're going to hear his story. And by the way, that facility you're on the hilltop there, that's quite impressive location you have. So I'm going to have to go up there one time when I'm up visiting. So, anyways, without further ado, I want to introduce our guest, Ishka Stanislaus of Guyomar Wine Cellars. So let's learn a little something about Ishka and his journey into Paso Robles winemaking. So, Ishka, what did you do before before wine? Did you have another career?
No, this was my first occupation. Right after college, I realized I did not want to work under any servitude. I want to do something for myself. I had this romantic notion that I want to be a gentleman farmer. So, in, as my wife was desirous of coming back to California, we were both on the East Coast, and we searched out a place here. We were fortunate to find the lovely community of Paso Robles back in the day, 30 years ago, when there were only 20 wineries here. And I found this mountaintop that was just bare land, picturesque, but the potential was only seen within my eyes. Most farmers said it was not farmable, but yet for all, I saw the beauty. I was captivated. I said, I want that piece of land. And here, 30 years later, it is the most spectacular.
Are you a farmer first?
By all means, yes, because that is what wine is.
Of
Wine
course.
is about a piece of land that has some properties that you cultivate certain varietals that will thrive there. Henceforth, you farm at a level of excellence and you showcase that journey with the general audience. That is the communication of wine. That's what wine was meant to be yesteryear. It has now transformed into trinkets and shiny objects in the winery, the personality of winemakers. No, it's all about the site-centric varietals that exude a level of excellence.
So you're moving to the wine industry. You just saw this property. You go, this is what I'm going to farm, and you started from there. But what you did you have a previous interest in wine prior to that, or
A good question. I had this romantic notion that I wanted to be a gentleman farmer, but I encountered some of the luminaries and old farmers of yesteryear. They told me, look here, if you want to do it right, you've got to do it yourself. And more importantly, this is the prescription to excellence. I followed, I learned, I listened, and now I am the custodian of this style of farming, which is dry farming, head trained, deep rooted wines that extract the minutiae of soil, hence terroir.
So I have to ask, what is your definition of a gentleman farmer? Are you just a very polite person, or?
Right. That was my anticipation, expectation. I'm quite different today. I'm a grungy, old, grumpy person who has calloused fingers, arthritis in both arms, a tired back, and it's not pleasant, put it that way. But the
How's that tractor feel under your backside now, right?
But the product is purity, and more importantly, I'm carrying on a tradition where, as everyone else wants to change the dynamics of tradition, they want to invent their own vision of what farming should be. No, farming is a very closed entity. It has only certain attributes. I am carrying on that tradition.
So you had a couple of people that were very influential in your journey into the farming part. I don't know, I don't recognize their names, but you probably can enlighten us. Richard Soray and
Correct? Yes,
Steve
yes,
Glossner.
correct.
Give us a little bit of background on them and how you met.
I will start with Richard Surratt, and I think if indeed there's a God above, I was fortunate to have met him early in my adventure, because he came and kind of not only advised me, but schooled me in this art of farming. And more importantly, said that you have to be involved, you have to participate, you have to activate. Hence, this man was known as the godfather of dry farming.
Oh, okay.
God rest his soul. A very influential native-born son who really honed. He brought the first wine enthusiast, number 5 wine in the world, because his grapes went into a program called Rosenblum, if anyone recognizes Rosenblum, Zinfandel in Alameda, yes. That was the number 5 wine in the world in 1996, I believe, yes. So he brought recognition to Paso long before all the young punks have brought recognition to Paso. But he was my first mentor. And then I also felt obliged to invite Steve Dosner to start my winemaking process. That was much later in the day. I started the vineyard in 96. I started the wine label in 2010. But I invited Steve Dosner to take the helm of the winemaking process, because an individual can only do so much. Either you farm or you make wine. There's no way you can do both at a high level of excellence.
Right.
Yes.
So, Steve, what was his background in wine? I don't know if everybody, I don't recognize the name, but I don't know if anybody else does, but what was his background?
Steve Dosner was from the East Coast, graduated from Fresno State with a degree of enology, but he worked as a youth in a wine shop on the East Coast, learned the dynamics of French wines. I feel that he was gifted with the palate of excellence, a nostril of nuance, and the background of education. His first claim to fame was that he brought the first 90+ score to the Paso Robles appellation in the form of the Justine Isosceles in I believe it was 82, 83 or so. He was the winemaker that put Justine on the map. He is a rather mercurial man. He didn't last there much long. He went to many programs and finally was a consultant. And his last 15 years has been at the helm of Guyomar. So I must say that I've been in good hands in that sense.
Very good. Yeah, we all know isosceles.
Yes.
If you don't,
And if you might know,
famous lines from Justin.
his own program is called Paso Port, if anyone has any idea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've not experienced it. Right. So give us a little background about your family, your wife, and you met where? And
Right. So if I'm formerly from Sri Lanka, grew up in New York, and now 30 odd years here in Paso Robles. And I was fortunate to meet my dear wife on a dance floor in Maryland. And she was formerly from California, and she was desirous of coming back. Hence, we came here, and there was a happy medium. She found an occupation, I found an occupation, and I can say that we have lived happily ever after, quote unquote. But
how did you, from Sri Lanka, were you a young child or a young
yes,
adult?
I arrived at the age of 13 to
Okay.
the great citadel of New York, and
New York City?
New York City, yes, correct. When it was fashionable.
It was what?
When it was fashionable back then.
Oh, to live there, right? Yeah.
Right, yes.
Let me look at my notes here. Sorry. So, what was the first wine you tasted that really made an impression on you?
So when I first arrived at Paso, it was a small community, but culture of collection was meteoric. Many individuals were collecting fine wines. So I was exposed to these fine wines, and I must say, Dr. Stanley Hoffman, HMR, had one of the greatest cellars in the universe. His vineyards are now known as Adelaida and many other names, but in the old days it was known as HMR, Dr. Stanley Hoffman. And
that's the name of a vineyard in the Adelaida district, correct?
Yes, and he was a serial collector, European, American, and so on and so forth. And because of my wife being a physician, I was exposed to his friendship, and then consequently his cellar, and drank some of those wines, and then incrementally elevated my appreciation for wine, especially the older French wines, because he had the ability to age these wines. And of course, now all of us are privy to the Paso palate.
Right. So I think it's Adelaida Winery has an HMR vineyard that they produce wine from the grapes there. I don't know about Le Cuvier, but you also Le
Yes.
Cuvier uses some of your has access to your fruit, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Is my now I must say that I only consume about 20% of the fruit that I produce in this vineyard. My own program, and I sell about 80% to small boutique wineries in the area. So Le Cuvier is my biggest client, yes.
So, do you have any favorite winemakers in the area?
Apart from the winemakers in my own stable,
Okay. That's the question, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. I have a very dichotomy in terms of philosophy. Do you want to be part of the viticulture, or do you want to be part of the vinification? Is it viticulture or vinification? I'm still old school. I'm all a part of the viticulture. How do you spend 7 months of a fruit that has a gestation period in the vineyard and then have a very hands-off policy in the winery? Or you take fruit and then you have this emphasis about the nuance of creativity in the winery. So that it's a dichotomy in philosophy. So I want to say I'm completely old school. It's about how wine evolved in the vineyard and slowly transcended into the winery. And then we can present something that is really an elixir to the audience.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, we talked to a lot of winemakers, and really it's a challenge. They farm, or they have somebody farm for them, or they try to do a little of both. But then it's all about selling wine is really becomes the primary
That
mission.
is the hard part.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So but there's a lot of, especially where you're at and a little north of you, a lot of dry farming going on, or in that area, right? There's other, who comes to mind that has dry farming up there, Raj? What, it's Alta Colina. Did they dry farm at Alta Colina? I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I
know Loma Seca is a dry farm.
Loma Seca, yeah, Steve Beck, yeah. So, what do you think the most challenging part of making wine is?
The, the fact that wine has gone from wine connoisseurs to wine tourism. This is the new dilemma that one is dealing with. Once upon a time, there was an audience that came, appreciated wine, found the resonance in the product, bought it, warehoused it, served it on a special occasion. Now it's about the experience. What is this experience? I don't understand.
I'm sorry, what was that again? What's the what?
The experience.
The experience, right? Okay.
They want an experience.
I
say, why don't you sit at home?
It's a tourism thing, I mean, you're going up there, you're spending time.
That is my sadness about what has happened to the industry. Tourism is a threat to the industry.
But from that experience, Ishka, you have somebody come in on an appointment, you get to sit in front of them and you share your wines with them, and you can speak to them about what about your product. That gives you a chance. That's the experience that most people are enjoying now.
That's true, but I feel for my greater brethren, there are 400 wineries here.
Right.
When I arrived in this town, there were only 20 wineries. Can you imagine the explosion of wineries? How are they going to get a piece of the pie? Because you are a specialized audience. You love your wine. You are buying wine. You are engaging in the conversation. But the vast majority are here for some revelry.
I can't argue with you about that. I mean, our group is made up of people that are serious wine drinkers, and there are people that just want to come for the uh sit at a view, someplace where you got a view, which obviously you have, and enjoy a glass of wine, but not really interested in doing the deep dive into the wine, or why they like it, but they don't know why, and they haven't like everybody has to develop a palate for everything. So until you've done gazillion tastings, you don't really know what your palate truly is. You can't do it in one weekend, I can tell you that, if you're new, and it takes years to go, I'm leaning more towards this style. And then that style will change every decade because your palate has moved away and it gets a little complicated. Um, no, I agree with you. It's different.
I'll tell you
Hey,
one thing I want to emphasize is the condition of wine, the beauty of wine is the sequence of balance. How does one arrive at it? You can farm at a level of excellence. You can nurture the plant. Consequently, the plant, because it's nutritionally balanced, creates a physiologically balanced profile of fruit. Or you can take your fruit from the vineyard to the winery, do some analysis, and then compensate. The beauty of wine is nurturing that plant and creating this balance. That's the beauty. And that should be the conversation. That
Ishka,
is not replicable. Not replicable.
Ishka, hi, I'm Raj.
Yes.
I have a question kind of going back to sort of the origins for you guys. Like you had said that you had kind of, your intent was to sort of be this gentleman farmer. Like you kind of I mean, I think it's very, very obvious to tell that you are a passionate farmer. Like but how would you say that in the last 30 years now, your approach and your thoughts have changed and evolved since when you first showed up in Paso to where you sit today?
Raj, it's a very perplexing question, and I feel that I'm somewhat handcuffed by my purity of farming, by the outward intentions that are brought towards me about these prefixes that need to be ahead of me. I can't be called a farmer anymore. I have to be either organic farmer, a biodynamic farmer, a regenerative farmer. It's all about sales. The winemaker has no conception about what's going on, but he wants these labels to elevate his level of sales. But I am the most purified man in terms of taking care of my land. I'm not going to corrupt it in any form or fashion, but yet I need a prefix before my name. That is the conundrum that I'm undergoing right now.
Right.
Now, I
So,
will
so
always go ahead.
actually,
Go ahead, Raj. Go ahead, Raj.
as kind of a follow-up to that, like I can appreciate that when you are small and you're first getting started, you have to align yourself to these labels to stay afloat.
Yes.
But do you feel you're kind of at that point where you can now sort of push back on the label or the container and say that I understand, but no, this is me and I'm going to define sort of where I am?
Yes and no. I do it in a very subtle way, but not in an overt way, because generally speaking, if you don't confine to a mainstream avenue, you know, you're going to be left behind. And as much as I want to have my own identity, I need to conform, simply put, because that is who's paying my bills.
But do you feel that there is one of your wines that is more representative of what you yourself want to do and are interested in versus kind
Oh,
of,
oh, oh my gosh, you must come and taste at Guyomar, because the whole portfolio is that we have protocols for each varietal. We don't farm with one broad brush. We are protocol oriented in the vineyard. Then, when we take our fruit to the winery, knowing that we had east, west rows, we tune our protocols in the winery to compensate for that dilemma as well. So it is a very unique and a mind-centric equation between myself, the principal farmer, and Jacob Reyes, winemaker, to create this, at least in my view, these fabulous wines. Yes.
Well, I do. I mean, you know, this group, I don't know if you know this, is primarily very supportive of small producers. So, which I don't know how many cases you produce or retail. I hate to use that word retail. Uh, you know, your wine club and visitors, but it's I admire your passion on the for the farming side of it. Is like, this is where it really starts. And really, if you're talking to a winery and that's not where it all happens, they said that's not where it happens.
Yes.
Really does happen there first, because without without the farming, there is no great wine. The farming is where it all, the genesis of great wine. So I assume you're fairly smaller in production. What do you do? About 2,000 cases?
I'm at about 1,500 cases.
1,500? Okay.
I take about 20% of all the grapes that I farm for myself and sell about 80%. And I just want to make a quick shout out to Brian Broom, my dear friend,
Right.
who I'm here today because of him. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. By the way, if you did you have a comment, Brian? I don't want to open up for questions yet till the end, but did you have a comment, Brian?
That's fine. I just wanted to ask Ishka if you could give us a little more detail on the dry farming, because I do know that that's something that most vineyards, at least the newer vineyards, do not partake in, just because it's such a time-intensive process. So maybe Ishka, if you could talk a little bit about how you set up to dry farm and why that's so different from what people are doing nowadays.
All right, thank you, Brian. So dry farming is a philosophy, and it's an art of patience. So you get a crop after 6 years, as opposed to the general consensus where you get a crop on the third year. Despite having fruit on the vine, we clip it off and drop it. Henceforth, the root zone establishes itself. Now, in all your travels, do you hear the word terroir mentioned anymore? No. Paso Robles is devoid of a terroir because it's high density planting. Plants competing with each other for nutrients and moisture. But what elevates a wine head and shoulders above the rest is not fruit, acid, tannin, it's minerality. The only way you're going to get that is when the root descends beyond the minutiae of topsoil into the deep recesses of tundra. Only a dry farm vineyard can capture that. And that's what dry farming was in the old world, despite the fact that it rained there all summer long. Paso Robles is unique where there's no moisture between the months of May and November, but our roots are deep, 30, 35 feet down there, capturing the essence of the soil of 10, 15,000 years ago. And that's what our wine's all about.
So you make a great point. Something I never thought I'd learn, but that you plant now, you bought a new vineyard, one of the wineries in town, right? One of the 400. They plant a vineyard, and 3 years they expect fruit. You're saying that to start up, but in the modern day, with the cost of operating,
Yeah.
6 years is a long time
Yes.
for not generating any revenue after you paid had bought a piece of property. But I completely get where you're going with that. So
You
you
must match
did when you started in 90, what did you
6.
start, 96? It took you 6 years before you actually used the fruit, or
So I would say 7 years. Yes,
7
years.
years? Wow.
So I say you got to marry well. Joking, joking.
So, yeah, I mean, I talk to winemakers in town all the time. They I bought a new vineyard and they've just planted and they're going, but it'll be a couple years and we'll have fruit.
Right.
But I see where you're coming from, but you can't do dry farm everywhere. You have a beautiful property that is blessed, correct?
Yes, historically we got a multitude of rain. Not anymore. Those patterns have changed. But yet for all, because our vines are so deep rooted, they are able to sustain the adversity of the drought. Now,
Right.
I must tell you about this new project that I have just embarked on. I have a 3-acre plot where I have planted 7 of the Bordeaux varietals: Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Touriga Nacional, and Cabernet, interspersed. So no one knows where the plants are. I know what the cautions are because I bought the plants. And when it arrives, it will be next year, where this season when I will harvest it, 2025 will be the first vintage. First of its kind in the universe, a field blend of those 7 Bordeaux varietals. When people speak about a blend, they pick different parts of fruit and they co-ferment. Co-fermenting is not the same as a field blend. A field blend is when everything is part of the same parcel and you pick those indescriptive of what the fruit is. No one knows what the fruit is. And then you ferment it all together. It'll be the first of its kind in the universe.
I got to go back to the dry farming. How far the roots go down after 6 years?
Not in 6 years. Now that my vineyard is 30 odd years, it goes a foot per year.
So you're saying you got your roots are 30 feet
30 feet
below the surface. So you have going back to your about drought resistant, you're not drought drought doesn't affect you as much. That water that falls, not this year because it sucked, but like last year we had a little heavier. That water, how long does it take to dry up 30 feet down?
Right. Okay. So when we look at the profile of what we call the Willow Creek district, you have 20 feet of topsoil. And then below that is a sheer rock formation of what we call calcareous rock.
Calcareous, right.
It is porous. It tends to house almost 4 to 5 times its weight in water. It is a natural reservoir down there. These roots go seeking that moisture, maneuvering around the cracks and crevices, and then absorbing this moisture. Most importantly, when you speak about a wine, fruit acid tannin can be absorbed in the vineyard, augmented in the winery. You know what elevates a wine head and shoulders above the rest? Is the mineral composition. who is speaking about minerality? It only comes from terroir.
Right.
Terroir.
So it dawns on me that, you know, the word sustainability is used so often, but in terms of the vineyard, you're the most sustainable no matter what the weather, whatever Mother Nature throws at you, you're more sustainable than places that are newly planted and not, and they are really like living on the edge with the heat and everything, right?
I
Am I,
joke.
am
I joke that I'm the Nostradamus of wine growing. I realized something very early.
I right? So give us a little just a little change here. So you have a vineyard there named St. Peter Alcantara, right? Did I get that right? And
Right.
so
Yes,
give us a little background on what the name of that refers to.
so, end of the day, I'm sort of nostalgic about my family roots and so on and so forth. I had this grand uncle who graduated from Cambridge University at the age of 16 with a double doctorate in mathematics and physics. And sadly, he went into the priesthood. And I realized that the intelligence stopped with that generation. And I was now a lowly farmer. But as a tribute to him, you know, the fact that, as a tribute to him, I named the vineyard after him. He was not the saint, but he was named after the saint, yes. So as a tribute to him, I named the vineyard after him. And I think I have benefited, if you think about karma and good luck, I benefited some good positive energy from naming the vineyard after him. Yeah.
Very good. And the name and the story behind the name, Guyomar.
Guyomar was my dear wife's father's first name. And I've had the vineyard for 30 years. And generally speaking, if you farm at a high level of excellence, you're losing money. So how do I convince my wife to let me own a winery? And I thought about it one fine day and I said, I'm going to name it after her father. And she fell hook, line, and sinker.
Very good. So what year was the first vintage that you had?
2010. And to your question, I recently opened up a 2010 and it was superfluous. That wine has another 10 years left in it. So this is the beauty of the style of farming that I engage in, is nurturing the plant, making sure the plant is nutritionally balanced. Henceforth, the plant creates a physiologically balanced platform to create high-level premium wines. When the plant is neglected, you can't create high-level premium wines. Now, our wines are age-worthy wines. Mind you, I released them a little later than most people. I'm only serving 2020s and 2021s right now, because that's when I choose to release them. But they are drinkable at this point, but they'll incrementally get better over time.
So when was the last time you planted any?
The
Are you
last
still
block,
planting? Or
no,
you,
the last block that I just mentioned, that experimental Cabernet block that the Bordeaux block, the 3 acres of that, the field.
How long?
That was 7 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. So most of your vineyard is 30 years old.
Most of it is between 30.
What they call old vine.
Not quite, not quite. As a vineyard goes, we are just sending the adolescence of a vineyard.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
what is old vine? What is the parameters for old vine?
So 0 to 15 is young wine. 15 to 30 is adolescence. No, 15 to maybe 40 is adolescence, and then 40 to perpetuity is old wine. Yeah.
Is that a marketing term, or do people really stick to that?
No, this is an old school term. I don't know what the new school term is.
Right, I got
I
it.
just know
Okay.
what the old school term is.
I see old vine a lot, and I just thought,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't question it. I just go, okay, fine. Um.
Yeah, he's right. It's 50 to 100 is an old vine, and that's old school back from France and Italy.
Right.
That can be redefined here, though, in our business, in the business here. How did you decide to pick the fruit that you have now, the wines you're making? How did you decide you were going to settle on Petit Syrah? You have some Syrah, Mourvèdre.
I'm very Rhone centric, but I started off with Zinfandel because I didn't want to buck tradition too much. I was ensconced near the properties of the great vineyards of Pasenti and Roda, the two original vineyards of Paso Robles. So I grew Zinfandel. I saw my successors and I said, okay, Paso Robles is now the new Rhone capital of the world. Let me try my hand at that. And now, of course, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am the greatest Rhone grower in Paso Robles.
All right, we heard it here first. Okay. The way you said it, I actually believe. I believe you. I do. What do you we covered a lot of stuff, so I'm trying to make sure we don't go back on redundant. So what do you think is unique and different about your winery other than dry farming? Do you have any other characteristics you want to share with everybody?
The high elevation of the land. It's the steepest vineyard in all of the appellation. So you have microclimates within microclimates, soil stratas that change from plateau to plateau. You pick at different times, and then you, when they are in barrels, you rack and return. So the wine gets blended together. That's a diversity of the product. When you farm on a flat plateau, it's the same old, but high, low, there is some diversity. I like to say it is almost an inner city edge to the wine. Really, it's.
Uh-oh, you
So-
just brought it. You just brought in the old East Side versus West Side.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
So what are you planning mid slopes on that elevation?
So every varietal has its own slope, and we pick at different times. We pick the tops first, bottoms later, and each grape has a different exposure because everything doesn't get the same exposure. But then we fine-tune our winemaking protocols to decide as to where that grape originated from and how we should treat it in terms of winemaking protocol. And that is the beauty of being a small production facility.
So we're running out of time here. Of course, if you
Thank you very much.
But
Thank
don't,
you.
Yeah, no, we don't. We want to respect your time. We want everybody to be able to ask some questions, but just a couple lighthearted. Like, what do you enjoy other than wine, are you, what do you like to drink? Adult beverage that is not wine?
Uh, I probably would have to resort to a gin and tonic, because if it's not wine, then I want a boring subordinate,
Right.
a safe space.
It's refreshing, of course.
Gin and tonic, probably.
Do you have anything you want to share about your current wine lineup?
No, I'm just saying I'm thankful that I was included in your forum. Thank you for spending time with me.
Of
And
course.
at your leisure, please come and visit. That's all I can say. Yes.
Do you want to talk about your wine club at all? Do you have let us know what you got going on there?
Yeah, it's one case once a year, but generally speaking, I think you'll appreciate the experience by coming and visiting Guyomar at some point in time, and I will certainly regale you with stories and the product, and of course you can make your judgment at that point in time.
Well,
and Mike, thank you very much.
This judge says that this wine is very good.
Right, yes.
Okay. But I'm a party of one right now. But no, it is. It's very, very, very good. And I had a bottle before that one of the team members shared with us. So what I'm going to do right now, except I got one last question.
Right.
For wine drinkers. We love this question. For wine drinkers, and we get a lot of different answers. So, do you have any kind of pro tip for wine drinkers, like that makes them help enjoy or enjoy their wine better, the consumption of wine? What do you have? Do you have anything, tips, tricks, to
Yes,
make the wine experience better?
I do. Have a very open mind, because there's so much information out there that you come with a rather preoccupied mind when you arrive at a venue. Simply put, have a blank slate, come there, trust your palate, appreciate the product, and make a judgment. That's what I would say.
Very good. Very good. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open up to questions. Throw your hand up or just wave and I'll call on you. Steve.
Yeah. All right. Hi, Ishka. Thank you for this today. And for those of you who haven't experienced the tasting, you need to. First of all, the property is some of the most beautiful we've ever seen. But Ishka's hospitality and his knowledge and pairings with the whole charcuterie board, it was a great experience, and the wines are absolutely fantastic. So I would recommend that. But I'm very interested in this field blending that you were talking about, and how do club members get the wine when you do blend it? But is it just picking grapes that you're seeing look good and putting them together without saying I want 20% cab and I want this and that? I mean,
Right. So I know the proportions because I bought the plants, and the fact remains, all those 7 varietals don't age at the same duration. So I will have to hand tender each plant, and if there is some green fruit, drop it henceforth, bring the varietals to age at the same plateau. So it will be a free field blend, all 7. And yes, I'm going to give that to the club members at a modest blue collar price point that Guyomar has as opposed to a lot of my.
Yeah, that actually is true. Your wines for the prices you were charging, I don't want to tell you that because you might raise your prices, but I think it's definitely an excellent value for a fabulous wine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else have, Chris, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I am absolutely fascinated by mixing the varietals in a block like that and how you're going to pick it. And do you call it a blend? Like, how do you, like, I'm just fascinated by that whole concept.
Right. So as I said, I'm the first of a kind to do this, and I've spoken to many great winemakers, luminaries in the area, and they said can never be done. And when someone says that to me, my energy gets elevated, and I'm going to show them wrong. It's because,
when do you think that's going to be available? How long is it going to take for that to come to fruition?
So we are going to pick our first vintage this year. So 30 months in the barrel, and so 4 years down the road.
30 months?
Yeah.
And then bottle aging.
Yes, bottle aging, yes.
Very excited.
Yeah. First of its kind. I'll be the biggest, you know, when you say you're a goat, the greatest of all time, or you
Great goat. You're a goat.
the one with the horns on.
So let me ask this. This is kind of a common, maybe a misconception.
Yes.
I kind of buy into, because I'm older, that when you age your wines 30 months and bottle age another year or something, that really the wine should be fair, what I would call drink ready, right?
Yes.
Instead of buying a bottle that's been aged for 20 months and then no bottle aging, and then they go, well, hold on to it it'll be better in a few years. And I'm kind of like, I'm more interested in wines that I can drink now than 10 years from now, with the unknown of knowing whether I'm going to be around to enjoy them or not. But so what is your take on that?
Mike, you have hit the nail on the head. Once upon a time, you sold a bottle of wine based on its worthiness. Today, you're selling a bottle of wine based on the reputation of the winemaker. You're buying something that is insipid, known that, okay, it's going to get better over time. No. I'm giving you the ABCs of wine. Drink it today. You're going to enjoy today. And if you know it's drinkable today, it's going to get better over time. You're not buying a wine based on my reputation. You're buying the wine based on the wine's reputation.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yes. Yes.
And I do go out to wineries and I have to taste them and I go, wow, those are pretty tannic, but I think they'll soften up in about 5 years. And I have to do that. But when you get older, you get into your 70s and you start going like, that 5 years is that a really good investment, or 10 years? Is that a good investment? No, not really. And I find many of my friends are going out and buying on the secondary market. They're buying
But
later vintage or earlier vintages because they want to drink now.
I'll also make another commentary, which might not please everybody. Today's winemaking stanza is about pleasing or appeasing the 4 individuals who rate wine. So everyone is making a wine to suit that palate profile. The palate of wine has narrowed very vividly. We are quite the antithesis of that. We make wines based on varietal integrity and showcase that.
Right.
I thumb my nose at the raters. I tell them to. But my audience is my wine club members, as Stephen is. He's a great ambassador of Guyomar today. He has taken a liking to me and my wines. And that is the endurance of my existence.
That's a great answer. And I'm going to tell you that
Yes.
because it really is an interesting dichotomy between who's selling now and, you know, I've always been fascinated by that because I'm guessing, like you said, I'm guessing this is going to be good down the line. So I love your answer.
Adam has a question.
Go ahead. Oh, Brian,
No,
Sorry.
Adam,
did you have a question, Ishka?
Adam has a question.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. There you go.
Oh,
All
there.
right, thank you. Yeah, okay, so back to the dry farming and your roots that have gone down 20 feet
Or more.
or more. Yeah. So that's a neat trick to pull off in Paso Robles because it's a hot, dry region in the summertime. I mean, you get the rain in the winter and, you know, the calcareous soil will absorb the water and supply you. But I'm wondering up top, what are you growing on the vines? Are you doing Guyot bush type of vines, something with a canopy to protect the grapes, you know?
Right. So yes, so yeah. So Adam, it's a bush type of wine, and a good question. Now, for instance, rosé, we manipulate the canopy in terms of crop load and canopy, deeming the sunny side and the shady side, manipulate air movement and sunlight. Hereby we get slightly underripe fruit on one side, mature fruit on the sunny side, creating this tandem between acidity and complexity on the grapevine, as opposed to having to augment one or the other on the plant. This is dynamic. We do this on the plant. I learned this from the old time farmers, you know. And to your point, you can control canopy, you can control crop load, you can control these minutiae to create a wine.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I get it. You
You're
could do VSP on the shady side, and you can do full canopy
No
on the sunny
VSP.
side.
These all
But
bush.
It's all Guyot bush.
Yeah.
Okay.
you benefit from Templeton
Robles.
Gap, though, don't you?
Pardon?
You benefit from the Templeton Gap, right?
Yes,
The
I'm
pool.
in the Willow
Yeah, you
Creek,
get the
district,
breeze.
but I am the Templeton Gap. Yes.
I am the Templeton Gap.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
The Templeton Gap is what got us at the party.
Yes.
The cold air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Steve Perlman, you have a question? Or Joe? Joe, you have a question?
I just wanted to say that I met you on Saturday
Yes. Thank you, Joe.
and I opened the Monsignor and I'm loving it.
I know. And I thought as much. I thought you would love it. I told you.
I do. It's Petite Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre, and Zen.
Right.
And Joe,
Very,
you are a very interesting lady. I would like to sit down and have a chat with you at some. You're very, very bossy, but interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'm not bossy. I wasn't bossy. I came in and said I want my wine.
That's very funny.
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Okay, because I wasn't bossy. No, I'd like to come back and taste because I just did pick up because I didn't have time to taste. But I love this.
Right.
No,
I
I have
love
the same thing in my glass, the Monsignor. It's very good.
Anyway, folks, thank you very much for being.
Anybody else have a question? Louis?
Yeah, thank you, Ishka, for the presentation.
Thank
What's
you.
the meaning behind the names of your wines?
Family quirks. You must come down and sit with me, and I'll explain them. But
Take hint.
family quirks. Yes. As I said, I'm the conventional winemaker. Family has been a big part of my equation, and the solid background, at least the backing of my family has helped me. And as I said, I came to America at the age of 13 and had to endure few hardship months in the city of in the bubbles of New York, and then I was a very affluent man back in Sri Lanka, but my mother brought me with 3 children here. But now I consider myself to be a premier grape grower, hence a winemaker that represents the vineyard. Yes.
That's
Thank you.
a very interesting, present the vineyard. And I know that I've been to a lot of wineries, they try to do that. They do. I'm just saying you hear it a lot. I believe that is your passion. So you hear the word expression of the vineyard, it just happens naturally. I think you actually make it happen. So
I certainly try to. Yeah.
So
thank you. God bless.
Hey,
come and visit us. Yes.
I'm sorry. Zoom wasn't too traumatic, was it? It was fine, right?
Actually, not. Was I too boisterous?
No. we want more of that. Yeah. We love boisterous.
Okay.
Ishka, we were there like a week ago, and you were telling us your nerves, but you did so well.
Right. Thank you. Okay. All right.
I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thank you.
This was great.
Very,
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
interesting guest. Thank you, Ishka.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, Ishka.
Bye.
Oh, you can,
Mike, you need to turn the recording off.
thank you.